Good afternoon. We're gathered here to give thanks for the life of William Davis Coale, Jr. I want to welcome those who are here in person to the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg, Dave's Church. And a special welcome to those joining us online. You are not here in person, but your presence is felt. Please, at this point, type your name into the YouTube text chat, and John Motter later on will read the names of those who are present. There are two exits in the back where you came in. There's another one right through here, it goes right out. The one through there is a little more complicated. You go in there and you go right and then you go left and then you're out. That's in the unlikely event of an emergency, and the somewhat more likely event of needing a bathroom. There's also one through here. And then if you go through that room, to the left there are many more bathrooms. I was fortunate enough to be Dave's minister for just under 5 years. And my role today is to hold the space so that we may collectively celebrate Dave's life, comfort one another in our grief, and vow to shape the world as Dave would have wanted it. We'll hear from Dave's family, friends, and members of this church. There will be an opportunity for those who wish to speak briefly about your memories, of Dave, and I will be facilitating that. It'll be obvious when that happens. So be thinking now if you want to share at that point. For myself, I remember Dave to be a funny, conscientious, kind man, a devoted and loving partner to Karen, a fierce warrior for social justice, and a calm presence when things got chaotic. Dave's friends Karen and Reggie will now light our chalice, and you have a printed chalice lighting in your order of service. And after that, we will sing our first hymn, Amazing Grace. Ready? Birth is a miracle of love and courage, bringing light into the world. Death is a loss of light, but no less an act of courage, for we are born from and return to mystery.
As you're able, please stand to join us in singing number 205, Amazing Grace. Per Karen's selection, we'll be singing That Saved a Soul in verse 1. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Though many dangers, toils, and snares I have already come, 'tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
Praying, a poem by Mary Oliver. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends upon it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go.
Good afternoon and welcome. Today we celebrate the life of one very interesting guy, my best friend, Dave Coale. When he passed, he was 84 years old, and we had been married for 57 of those years. That's a long time, but those of you who've been around for a while know how fast the years can pass. Life with Dave was always interesting. He had a unique way of looking at the world. When someone said to him, "Think out of the box," his reply was, "What box?" For example, how we met. One of Dave's roommates at Fort Lewis, Washington, Jim Powers, was the brother of my high school and college friend, Jeannie. She asked me to write to Dave when he went to Vietnam. And we corresponded for that year, and I think really got to know each other, because when you start exchanging 4 or 5 letters a week, you kind of run out of topics after a while. So I think there's a spirit of depth and honesty that really went into our correspondence. On my part, I think I was just being open and patriotic, but I was very surprised when he wrote to me, "Oh, I'm thinking of stopping by in Omaha," which is where I happened to live at the time, "on my way home to see my parents in New Jersey." He did, and then moved on to his next assignment in Heidelberg, Germany. That was March. And in September, I finally heard from him again. I got a phone call one Sunday afternoon from Germany, and they were pricey in those days. "Hi, this is Dave. How are you?" At first it was like, "Dave who?" Because it'd been like 6 months. But then I caught on. But following that lengthy call, we continued to correspond. And the following March, visited Heidelberg. And we married in August, almost 58 years ago. We lived in a little village along the Neckar River outside of Heidelberg for 14 months. Stefanie was born while we were there, and we traveled extensively, starting when she was 4 weeks old, actually. I remember Germans reacting, "Ganz klein, ganz klein," how little she was, but we had to take advantage of the being there, and we did. This, I think, gave us a good foundation for our return to the States, to Boston, which was, for both of us, our first time living in a very large city. Dave continued his graduate program at Boston University that he began while in the military, and I returned to work. And Dave became Steph's primary caregiver. I think that was the initial beginning of the deep bond that you have formed together. Dave did not have a backpack or a briefcase, but instead chose an empty Pampers box to carry his papers and notebooks when he attended class. And he was a hit with the female professors. You can imagine. When Steph was a toddler, we enrolled her in daycare so she could be around other children. Dave volunteered there to help cover her tuition. One day he came home and he announced that he had been assigned latrine duty, changing diapers. So we spent 8 years in Boston before moving to Northern Virginia. They were not easy years, but building on the level of communication we established in our correspondence over a couple of years, we had a basis to work things through. Also, having such an idyllic beginning to our marriage in Germany served us well. Others will be speaking about other aspects of Dave's life, so before closing, I want to skip ahead to Dave's career in international trade with the U.S. Department of Commerce. I have a few words from Dave's all-time favorite boss, Sally Miller, who is joining us via YouTube from Fairfax, Virginia right now. She wrote, "Dave was far more than a delight to have on the Africa team. He brought intelligence, compassion, understanding, marvelous insights, and brilliantly flowing prose and cogent analyses. He taught me how to be multifaceted in my grasp of the South African setting. And the two of us worked as a seamless team to craft a U.S. policy to that country through very troubled times that was cogent and morally upright. He was a marvelous dad, so supportive of Stefanie. Lordy, I missed him when you guys moved to Florida." In closing, Dave and I have very different personalities, and we grew up in very different backgrounds, but we share values and we connected very deeply on them. Once he shared with me that he thought both of our parents gave us a great gift, and it was their demonstrated commitment to their marriages. They lived theirs out differently than us, which at times both sets reminded us. But when things got tough, they worked it out, and there was no question they would do so. That is a great gift, and it accompanied us and grew throughout our marriage, and I believed helped both of us through these past few years, which became quite difficult with his health failing. So, thank you.
Please feel free to remain seated as we sing through 1053, that is in your teal hymnal. 1053, we'll sing "How Could Anyone" 2 times through. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
We met Dave in the fall of 1981 at our church community in Arlington, Virginia, while I was pregnant with our now 44-year-old. Not quite a year later, they asked if we would like to join them in a series of discussions based on a book called Couples Communication. In all, we were 5 couples who realized after those first few meetings that we really liked each other and wanted to continue to get to know each other and our spouses better. We took turns planning and leading subsequent meetings, always centered on strengthening our marriages and consequently our identity as a close-knit group of friends. For 5 years or so, we met in each other's homes and went away for weekend retreats, where we continued our couples group and ate and played plenty. Karen and Dave were the first to move away to New Jersey, shortly followed by two other couples, one of whom is here with us today, Maureen Connors Flood. They moved to Africa, and another couple moved to Costa Rica. Jan and Ray and Joe and I were left staring at each other in our living room, trying to decide how to keep this very special thing we had going. We invited three other couples and continued the work and friendships we had begun because Dave and Karen had an idea, reached out, and made this remarkable experience happen. Eventually, they all came back. Jan's going to talk about that a little bit later. And our group expanded again. Dave always was always a calm voice of reason through all of our years as a group. For all these years, the bond we created stayed with us, and we still gather, somewhat less frequently. As we have all been married clearly for many, many years, we talk less now about how to hold our marriages together and more about how to navigate the challenges of aging in very different circumstances than when we began. It's difficult to overstate the impact of our beloved couples group has had on our marriages, our individual lives, and as a model for our children of commitment to our marriages and friendships. Sadly, Dave is the third one of our group who has passed on, and I personally am forever grateful to him for giving us this tremendous gift that we'll keep on giving for the rest of our lives.
All that sounds very serious, this couples group. At one of our first meetings, we got to discuss household chores. Who was going to clean the bathroom? But there was fun. Dave and Karen had many non-traditional roles. As Karen mentioned, Dave was a primary child care at the beginning, when it was easy. Not in high school, but easy then. And Karen cleaned up in the kitchen. But boy, our retreats had fun. I remember his hearty laugh. Dave and Karen organized a dressed-up mystery evening in which we all got to get into our costumes and roles. You can picture me as a general, Barb as a reporter, Jan as Hercule Poirot. And of course, Ray was Mrs. Marple. Some of our older members may remember the Newlywed Games, which is 3/4 of the people here, not the youngins. Well, we played a game called the Merely Weds. And you can imagine some of the questions were corny, and the response was that were across the spectrum. Dave was always ready to throw down with wine, jokes, and a laughter. Unrelated to our couples group, our church group, Nova, he appeared in a skit based on Dorothy searching to get home, get to the miss of all.
And the Miss of all is here, Maureen.
Maureen was the miss of all. Sparkles and everything. Now, you can imagine Dave in a Speedo bathing suit, looking into a mirror and saying, "Oh Lord, how hard to be humble." He brought down the house. We all called him Willie, and it's a perfect fit.
I always get to do the serious work. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened in the couples group. Barb has alluded to this. After Dave and Karen left, and then other people moved, so we were down to 2 couples, and we had to figure out what to do because we did not want to give up this family. So we formed a mostly new family, and we ended up with 7 couples, and we had a really hard time sustaining a group that did such close, intimate work together with 7 couples. We tried a lot of different things, and it was not helping the group having that many people. Well, in the middle of that, Dave and Karen came back. And so we agonized. I mean, of course they would come back to the group, but what would happen to the group if we added 2 more people? And we pretty much just, I'm sorry, I have to skip over here. We knew that the group could not sustain 8 couples. So with much anguish, we told Karen and Dave there was no room at the inn. This was the inn they had built. Now, the important thing here is their reaction, which is what, for me, defines them. They accepted what must have felt like a betrayal with grace and understanding and love. They were able to put the well-being of the group over their own desire to return to the family. Eventually, we were happily able to welcome them back, and they happily came back and were a part of us until they moved again. What's with all this moving? Their initial leadership, their love and generosity and forgiveness are what defined Karen and Dave for me. Dave himself was not, I'm sure this will surprise you, the most talkative member of the group. But everything he said in his soft voice made a difference. I picture him being asked a question, pausing for thought, and then, in a few sentences, cutting straight to the heart of the matter, offering bits of experience, knowledge, wisdom, and wry humor, and almost always ending with a chuckle.
And I never really liked Willie. I really didn't, but I love good food. During our many years as a group, Dave was the prime meal organizer. I just lost my place. It doesn't matter. Do you want paper? No, my fondest memories as Dave's apprentice, my fondest memories as Dave's apprentice were learning how to chop things, evenly, and learning how to stir things clockwise, Ray, never counterclockwise. But my favorite Dave Coale cooking story occurred when Jan and I got to spend a wonderful week with Dave and Karen in Italy. And Dave was cooking our dinner, but he was also making a dinner for the extended family that we were staying with. So it was 7, 8 folks. Now, we were only in Italy for 7 days, but one of those days was spent in a car with Dave, searching all over Tuscany for the right whitefish, not just whitefish, the right whitefish. And we went to every open market in Tuscany. Dave found his whitefish, and Dave, who had been studying Italian for a number of years, ordered 3 pounds of fish. Or he thought he ordered 3 pounds of fish. He ordered 3 kilograms, 6.6 pounds of fish, and we ate whitefish for the rest of the week. When I told my son, Michael, that David died, this is what Michael said. He said, I always liked Dave. He would much rather hear what you had to say than perform. And in our group, there are several performers. I remember Dave, as Barb and Jan intimated, most as the voice of reason. Calm, logical, sensible advice in times of discord. I remember his little cough to let you know he was getting ready to speak. And then always that pause, that pregnant pause before he began. Dave and I carried on for several years at couples retreats a discussion on the roles of males in society. Let's say that how do I put this? My position was that males in society had to act like peacocks. Because that's the only way we could attract whatever we needed to attract. Dave related how much one didn't need to display those tail feathers, but needed to be more right and more mindful and more from the heart. Isn't that a good lesson for today? Less tail feather, more right in mind and heart. I will miss Dave. I will miss his wit, his wisdom, and his willingness.
Please feel free to stay seated as we sing from the gray hymnal, number 123, Spirit of Life, number 123. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
All of us together.
My dad was one of those people who, when you asked you, how are you? He waited and wanted the true answer. Yep. He wanted the true answer, and there was always a long pause until you answered honestly. My well-being was as important to him as his own. This was true for how he viewed society and the world. He strongly supported social justice and using your voice to make a difference. For him, it was voting. For my dad, education opened his world, a love for travel, to be open to different perspectives, to keep learning, and it is a gift. He literally had to choose in high school between braces or going to boarding school. He chose boarding school. He was always so supportive and proud of me as I continued to pursue higher education. I still think of him often when I debate of going back one more time for that doctorate. My profession has been in education due to the influence and how much his boarding school experience was his means to a world of possibilities and ideas. He also, as you learned, had a very playful side. One of my favorite stories is him putting on his African mask. Of course, he spent months there doing research for his doctorate. I was having a high school sleepover with 7 girls, and guess who comes in the back with an African mask, flailing his arms and scaring my friends literally to tears? Only my dad. He was also my inspiration for running and biking. Never a serious athlete, but he always valued the outdoors, taking time to enjoy nature, and using this as a means to do that. Lastly, as you all know, his love for cooking and good food. Sorry, Dad, but not the wine. I have so many fond memories of going to farmers markets around the US and Europe, cooking what is fresh, planning meals together, enjoying our delicious dinners that we cooked. His inspiration was Julia Childs. He's mine. I love you, Dad.
Papa Dave was always someone I looked up to as a kid. His laid-back persona, his sarcastic, witty humor, and the way he smiled when he laughed just made me admire who he was and the kind of presence he brought to our family. But my favorite memories would be when he would take me out fishing. He's the one that taught me how to bait a hook. He's the one that showed me how to cast. And he would be the one that introduced me to a hobby that I love to this day. But I don't remember those moments because he was my teacher. I remember them because of how he taught me. I would get snagged countless times, and he would retie for me every time. He never got annoyed, never got frustrated. He would just stay happy and present in that moment. I would even cast my own rod, and if I saw he made a better cast, he would give me his, because that's the kind of man he was. As long as he was out there doing what he loved with me, he was the sweetest, most patient man. My mom was telling me about Papa Dave's dad and how he would take Papa Dave out fishing as a kid, how much he loved spending his time out there with his son, and how happy and kind he was with Papa Dave, the same way Papa Dave was with me as a kid. Papa Dave was a sweet, caring, patient, and selfless man that truly valued these precious moments in life. It makes me think of when I have a kid one day, hopefully many, many days away. But I want to be the kind of teacher that Papa Dave was to me. I want to be the kind of teacher that Papa Dave's dad was to him. Because if I do that, then Papa Dave stays alive in my soul. And his caring, patient, and selfless spirit will be passed on for generations to come. While his physical self may be gone, I make a promise to him that his spirit will stay alive. So that part of him, and that part of his father, and that part of me will never truly die.
My grandfather was quiet and strong. He was the sort of person who valued actions over words. He didn't speak unless he really had something to say, and when he talked, everyone listened. But no matter how quiet he was, his love for his wife, our family, and all the wonderful people in his life was never in question. For Papa Dave, he showed his love and kindness through the most thoughtful acts. He poured his soul into his beautiful garden. He spent months carefully tending to his plants in order to make the most thoughtful and intentionally perfected meals for the people he loved. He would patiently wait until his zucchini plants were just blooming, carefully remove the flowers, fry them one by one, and invite the whole family over to enjoy them. As soon as I said I loved them, they always found a way to appear on the table every year. And this was just the way that he loved the people in his life, taking such conscious efforts to show you that you're loved and known. I will forever miss him, but that feeling will never go away. He has shaped my life for the better, and above all, I'm just so grateful to have had the privilege to know him.
So my typical greeting from Dave Coale was, "Oh, my favorite son-in-law." I was his only son-in-law, but that's okay. Still his favorite, always a good thing. Yeah, I don't know, everybody's talking about him being quiet all the time. It's just that everyone else was busy talking and never let him get a word in edgewise. That was the experience I had at the dinner table. So he'd always have to be like, "Can I get a word in here?" And he did, and he always had something worth listening to. So that was really, really important for him. And we always wanted to hear what he had to say. And he took things seriously. His favorite magazine was The Economist. And he always loved his mysteries and detective shows on TV. He loved to read his books. And he loved to have a good conversation with his family and other people, and especially people in need. So I think he had a really well-rounded soul and spirit. And he always was very, it always delighted him to see family together, especially his family. And so as we are together as a family, we always will think of him and have that spirit carry on.
please stand as you're able and join us in singing Turn, Turn, Turn. The words are in your order of service. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven.
You may be seated. Now we would like to hear from you. But first, John, where'd John go? Hey, John.
There's a handful. Diane Carroll said, "We spend a lot of time together imagining ideas to help those on the margins." Dave was a wonderful chef and donated his time to hold fancy dinners in our community, Nova, to raise money for social justice projects. Sally Miller, who Karen spoke about earlier, he was the most deeply perceptive member of my staff over 25 years of working at the U.S. DOC Office of Africa. Scoffy 550, I just lost it. Sorry. David was a kind, genuine, and always brought a smile to us. Diane Carroll, Dave's idea of social justice was to give of his substance, not of your surplus. He and his friend Rich Rosenberg helped Nova understand what that meant. When Dave was out of work for a short time, we spent a lot of time together imagining ideas to help those on the margins. I always suspected the group was formed to work on communication because my husband, Rich, scared Karen. Dave was way overqualified in his retirement job selling wine at the new Wegmans. And I think, hopefully I haven't missed any. I think that's it. There's some other comments, but in terms of memories of Dave.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. We would love to hear from you. And it's sometimes nerve-wracking to be the first one to raise their hand. So 2 people have been kind enough to be plants.
Willie, the sleeping lion. We called him Dave. Some knew him as Willie. As if you stayed long enough at his table, you learned both names meant you were home. He taught me that Brussels sprouts, roasted just right, could turn the bitterness into something sweet, a small miracle like many things he believed were possible. With Willie, you can count on good wine, good food, and conversation that wandered from the neighborhood stories to the tangled maps of history and nations. He carried the world in his mind, but never forgot the person in front of him. He was a sleeping lion of a man, soft, welcoming, arms wide for anyone who needed shelter. You would think I would have this memorized, since it's mine. Yet with claws sharp and ready, with justice on the line. Mr. Social Justice, we'd say with a smile, because he lived it. Not loudly, but stubbornly, like a truth that refuses to sit down. His compass was simple. When you have a choice between being right or being kind, choose kind. And somehow he tried to do both, to be kind in a way that made the world a little bit more right. On lighter days, there was his favorite expression, eh? Offered long before hearing aids entered the story, a pause that made you repeat yourself, and in repeating, sometimes hearing your own words more clearly, he moved slowly, answered slowly, as if he believed haste could bruise a moment. He was not from the South, but he understood its secret, that time, given room, can soften people towards one another. He sang, oh, he sang, with a voice that mattered to those who listened, and while his toes tapped to an unlikely tune, even a mischievous ballad like A Boy Named Sue. There was joy in the rhythm, permission to laugh, to be imperfect, to belong. If you knew him as Dave or Willie, you knew a man who made space at the table, who chose closeness, who believed justice and gentleness could live in the same body, and they did. They lived in him, they live now in us. Every time we set an extra plate, speak up. Every time we set an extra plate, speak up for the small and overlooked, or choose, when it's hardest, to be kind.
So Dave and Karen have a very special place in my heart. When my late husband Mike and I first moved to St. Petersburg, and this was about 23 years ago, we attended UU St. Pete, and we quickly became members of the Covenant group that Dave and Karen hosted at their home. Their hospitality and their warmth and good food created a beautiful setting for building and strengthening friendships. Dave and I also served on the Board of Trustees here at UU St. Pete a couple of times together. I always counted on Dave's logical and thoughtful process of thinking about things and his just basic kindness to resolve the many issues that we were facing. Now, as board members, Dave instigated an online leadership class with the Florida district that all the board members took. And also, Dave later invited me to join him at a Florida District Unitarian Universalist meeting at the UU Church in Gainesville. And for those of you who are Unitarian Universalist, it was at this meeting where Paula Cole Jones spoke and outlined the beginnings of what became the eighth principle. And driving back from that meeting, Dave was just on fire about justice. It was an amazing memory. That meeting and those leadership classes literally were life changers for me in terms of expanding my UU connections. And I owe Dave so much gratitude for the role he played in that. Finally, Dave and my late husband Mike were avid golfers. Every Wednesday morning, they had a standing date with Peter and Sam at Twin Brooks. Now, even after Mike was battling cancer, Mike built his week around that golf date. Thank you, Dave, for giving Mike that great pleasure in life.
Dave was in our meditation group, and when we formed the group, Dave had already been meditating for 25 years, and he knew more about meditation than the rest of us combined. And so he was always very insightful of what he would say and what he would read, and we all got to depend on him very much. And interestingly, he said that we were very important to him, and we all loved him.
My name's Mike, and I knew Dave through this church. And the very first time I came here, Dave was greeting. And he welcomed me, and I asked him all the questions and about UU, and he explained everything in like the 2-minute drill. And I later, but as I think he was the chair of worship or something, but when you're a chair of a committee, you always got to be closing. And he's like, well, you can join the church and you can become a greeter, and it's a great way to meet people, and which it was. And I did all those things. And I also was a member of their covenant group, which was awesome. But I don't even know how many different positions he had at the church, but a lot. And he was always just a positive energy and a wealth of experience. So, thanks.
Well, I was reluctant to do this, because I really didn't know Dave. I knew who he was. And so it's been really nice to hear what a funny guy he was, because I never knew that. But anyway, I was working in the office, and it was during the pandemic. He came in one day, and he said, I think he was going to meet Ben. He said, put your mask on. And I thought, who are you? I mean, honestly. And I said, nobody is in here, just me. Put your mask on. And then I thought, okay, Karen is the president, so, okay, I better put my mask on. So I did.
Thanks, Sharon.
I'm Lori, it's Annie and Jean. We used to sing on the second Sunday when the choir director took the time off. So our name was Second Sunday. Well, every time we sang, it would be a folk song of some sort or another. And the one person we could rely on for coming up and saying he just enjoyed it so much was Dave. And when we knew about his service coming up, Annie and I talked about singing a song, and please sing along. Okay? It's I'll Fly Away, one of his favorites. So,
sing with us.
Some bright morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to that home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away.
One more verse.
When the shadows of this life have grown, I'll fly away. Like a bird from prison walls I'll fly. I'll morning. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Yep.
Nice, thank you. All right, I'll come back.
Dave was in my early morning yoga class, and the first day I met him, he said, "The thing you have to know about me is I have really tight hamstrings." And yoga teachers can tell that right away, especially on a runner like Dave. So he came to this early morning yoga class multiple times, and he couldn't hear. And so his mat was right by my mat, but he did everything so perfectly. And one day he said, I'm not going to be at your class next week. I said, "Great, where are you going to go?" And he said, "I'm going fishing." And he was so excited about this fishing trip. Well, another month or two followed, and Dave said, "My daughter might come to class." And I said to him after the class, after Stefanie had been there, I said, any daughter would be so thrilled to do yoga with her dad. How lucky she is. And he said, "No, I'm the lucky one."
For those who didn't hear, Stefanie said, "I have tight hamstrings too."
Maureen Connors Flood, I'm sorry I can't stand, but I think I can see all of you. A part of that group that's been mentioned so many times before we moved down here 30 years ago. Many, many memories and so many beautiful things that reminded me of what Dave has meant in my life, and Karen too, and Barb and Joe and Ray and Jan and people who are talking here. Two major memories, I guess. I don't remember that costume I wore that they described, but when we were deciding and discerning, we had decided to join a group to go overseas, and they were saying, "We're going to send you to apartheid South Africa." Well, we were a little bit uncertain about that's what we wanted to do because our government wouldn't have wanted us to. But we talked to Dave about it, and I always remember he encouraged us to do it, and it was such a life-changing 2 years there. And we saw the very end of apartheid, so we left in '91 when all the laws were, and so that's a wonderful memory. And then 30 years ago, I can't believe it, I was so privileged to be the co-officiant with the rabbi at Stefanie and Ross's wedding at Georgetown. And I still have that picture in my office, and I look at it often. I've been a co-officiant many times now, but that one was so special.
Hi, my name's Linda, and this is
Marie.
We are 40-year-plus friends of the Coale family, and we were the cool kids, back in high school with Stefanie, and so when she was talking about the African mask, we were there. But another time, she hosted sleepovers often, and one of my memories was they had a fireplace in their house in Arlington, and Mr. Coale came running downstairs in his boxers and his crew socks that everyone talks about. "Stefanie, why is the house on fire? Did you open the vent?" And Stefanie's answer was, "What vent?" But, now that we're grown and we have our own kids, I think to myself, yeah, when I was 14, 15, I looked at this older man and thought, oh, he's quirky, but it's the circle of life, and that's when your parents say, you just wait until you have kids. So it happens to the best of us, and we love Stefanie, we love her family, and we're going to miss Mr. Coale. I know you know him as Dave or Willie, but we knew him as Mr. Coale. So God bless him.
I would just add, yes, all wonderful memories. You know, if you, as you all know, Mr. Coale, the calm presence, and you can imagine him in a house full of 8 or 10 girls with a lot of craziness, and he handled it so well and patient. But occasionally we got a Stefanie when something happened, and usually Stefanie would say back, "Dad." So
Looking back, he was a cool dad.
he was.
We have time for one or two more.
Yeah, I'm Will Michaels. I was in that golf group that met every Wednesday there for a couple of years with Mike Manning and Sam Hollis and Peter Schultz and a few others. And it was a great experience there. The golf scores were nothing remarkable, but we had a great time having coffee after the games were over there at Twin Brooks, and we talked about everything. The church here was often a subject, as was family and vacations. That trip to Italy, we heard it all, and we just enjoyed it so much. There is one other group that I wanted to mention that Dave was a very important member of, and that was the Men's Book Club, which meant once a month. And we've heard about Dave's interest in social justice, his putting forth the moral point of view in every discussion. The way the Men's Book Club works is you talk about the book for about 15 minutes, and then you talk about city politics and national politics, what's going on at home and whatnot. But Dave was, I think one of his favorite sayings was, in the middle of a real tough debate, was, "I'm going to go home and Google that." So.
Hi, I'm Grant. I'm Karen and Dave's nephew, and I attended Appalachian State University up in the mountains in North Carolina, and a couple of times actually. And Karen and Dave started coming up to Blowing Rock a lot, and so did a lot of the first row. And I look forward to those visits every summer. And one of my favorite memories, though, I'm going to kind of combine a couple of stories, but I had been dating somebody that ironically lived in Pinellas Park, and but it didn't work out, and we were having dinner. No joke, it was fried zucchini blossoms. And I think it was Ross and Stefanie, and Dave said, "I want everybody to leave. I need to talk to Grant alone." Well, everybody left. And I'm going, "Oh, I don't know what he needs to talk to me about." Well, he had some very encouraging words about love and life, but he also said, it was a tough time economically. I didn't know what I was going to do. Should I go back to school, get a graduate degree, Dave said, "Look, I encourage you to find yourself a beautiful executive, fund your lifestyle, go back to school, and just keep that going." Said, "Okay, well, it worked out for you, didn't it, huh?" But he also said, encouraged me to read a book in particular about meditation, and he taught me a lot as well, and something that I practice, again, ironically, in a UU church today. So something still carrying me through.
Thank you, everyone. Karen and Reggie are going to extinguish our chalice. Then we will have some closing words from Janae Johnson and our final piece of music, after which I hope you will join us in Gilmore Hall. And we have a chalice, words for the chalice extinguishing. They're in your order of service, if you would say them with me. We extinguish this chalice, but not fire of courage. He's in our hearts, out into the world.
Hello, hello. I'm here to close us off. Dave was born on Saturday, June 28, 1941. His essence crossed this realm over 30,000 days ago. Over several 100,000 hours, it puts into perspective how precious 24 hours a day are. Some days are decent, some are unfavorable, some hold the unthinkable, and yet we must still carry on. We carry on because we haven't reached our end yet. We carry on because, aside from our own lives, there are other lives we are responsible for to help nurture and grow. Though we do not live forever, it shocks us when one of us enters the deep slumber, so this goodbye, or rather farewell, or see you later, is what gives life meaning. It makes us appreciate the construct of time even more. We all came from the womb, and through the doors of mystery, which we do not know, to the womb of the earth we shall return. I ask you now to please bow your heads and rest your eyes. To Karen's loving partner, the social justice warrior, Willie, Papa Dave, grandfather, friend, dad. Now I close with offering and commending you to the earth. We are thankful for you and the time you have given us to be a part of your life. We are thankful for who you are and who you will forever be. I commend your journey on earth and send you with your family and friends to now return to the land. In that spirit, I offer these final words for Dave and all of you. When you reach out to him in your prayers or in memory or with a glass of wine, the frequency of love is where he is now residing. May your hearts be of love when you ask him to be near. He is now one with creation. Dave, William, Dave Coale, Jr., your life is complete. Blessed be to life, amen to grace, and ashe to you all. Thank you for coming.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see, no, I won't be afraid, no, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. If the sea that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble in the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me, stand by me. Oh, darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me, stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me, stand by me.